Welcome to Everybody Has a Story, episode number 2. Today we have a guest by the name of Jessica, and I want to start with our disclosure statement, which all these stories are intimate to the person and not to be taped to reissue trauma for anyone. So thank you for being here today, Jessica, and being willing to tell your story. So we're going to start with you introducing yourself. You can say your name, where you're from, and whatever information you want to disclose. But we'll start with your name.
Okay. I'm Jessica. I'm 24, born in St. Paul. I have one brother. That's about all I want to disclose. I don't
Okay.
know.
All right. Well, thank you for being here again. So, Jessica, I'm your host today, but you are the guest of honor. And so I'm just going to ask some questions of you to share with the world about your story. Our series is called Everybody Has a Story. And we want to know, what do you do in your free time?
I go to groups. I spend a lot of time with my mom, my biological mom, to make up for time that missed out on growing up. And go to school and do schoolwork. That's about it.
Okay. I'm going to just put this on
Silent.
vibrate. Oh, right. So you spend a lot of time with your mom, and then you go to groups. What kind of groups do you go to?
I am currently in recovery for addiction to meth, cocaine, and then marijuana.
Okay. And so the groups that you go to help with your sobriety?
Staying sober.
Okay. And how's that going for you?
Not good.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that later. No, seriously, we will. What do you do when you keep trying, but you feel like you're failing?
What I do, Nick? Sometimes I just stop and I get overwhelmed easily. Like life, I be wanting life to just stop and give me a break sometimes.
Yeah.
But I normally call you when I'm overwhelmed, so.
So you call upon your big sister Sierra, which I'm not her sister by blood, but I'm her sister by the blood.
Yes.
So, what do you want out of life, Jessica?
Well, I want a family. I want to be more than what my mom was and what my family was to me growing up. I want to actually make something of myself. I don't want to be stuck in St. Paul in the hood. I want to be better off. I want to own a hair salon.
Hey.
And I'm currently in school for criminal justice, so I want to get that degree and actually help people who are getting mistreated in the system. Because the justice system, there's a lot of loopholes that we don't know about, that they're not trying to help us in, if that makes sense.
When you say us, do you mean us as Black people? Do you mean us as people of color? Or what do you mean by us?
I mean us as people of color because with my own criminal case, I was screwed over through the justice system. And I'm currently still being screwed over. So I feel like there needs to be more lawyers or people in the system that actually want to help you and not just lock you up in a prison just to benefit from it.
Right, or think that that's the end all for the situation. So you want to, you said own a hair shop. You said finish school for criminal justice. And is there anything else that you would like to do in life?
I always wanted, ever since, because I grew up in CPS, so ever since being in the system, I always wanted to give back to kids that grew up in foster care and maybe open, it's kind of like a halfway house, I guess you can say. It's where they can get, employment options and housing, but also get education, because a lot of teen moms that get pregnant in the system, they either try to take the kids away from them or they just leave them to fend for themselves and they don't have no place to go.
Right.
So I kind of want to create that safe haven for other people in the system. I feel like if you have somebody that's been through it, you're a lot more likely to relate to them
Exactly.
than you are to somebody that's just there for that paycheck.
like a peer-to-peer mentorship,
Yeah.
and you can show them the different ways to process and deal because you have experienced those things. But I think there's one other thing that you really want to do in life and you're not disclosing it. So I want you to tell the world what you would really like to do out of life.
I like to sing
Yes.
and write, so I want to experience that part of the world eventually. But I got stage fright, so I don't know about that.
Well, I'm sure that when and if you make that leap of faith and decide to pursue that career, I'm sure that they'll work on you with that stage fright. So what's your definition of happy?
Definition of happy. My definition of happy is being at peace with yourself completely, not like having to worry or stress about where's your next meal gonna come from or the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like being happy is wholeheartedly, like you gotta be in it wholeheartedly. You can't just be happy half the time and like I don't understand that.
So do you want my definition of
Yeah.
happy? So my definition of happy would be to be content in the things that you are dealing with. And despite your circumstances or your situation, that you're still glorifying the Creator, God, for the things that you do have. No matter what you don't have, it will come eventually. So happiness is within you. Happiness is the things that you do. Happiness is sharing time with happiness is sharing time with your friends, sharing time with your family, sobriety. Happy is just being a part of the glories of what we have here and now and being thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
So does that sound like
Yeah.
your definition of happy? Okay.
You just like
I put it out there for you.
fixed it off for me.
Okay, cool. What would you say is your gift to the world?
My gift to the world is that I am caring. I'm a very caring person. I have a big heart. I always look out for the next person before I look out for myself. And so I look at that, that's my gift, because I have a lot of outlooks on different things, and I look at life differently than somebody else who's my age, who's probably out partying or having fun. Instead, I'm trying to like get my life structured and together.
Right, right. Which is great. Those are all great, and I'm so proud of you. Every time I look at you and you hit a brick wall and then you call me and we work it out, I'm like, there, every time. Yes, she's listening. And I'm proud of you for that. And I'm proud of you for making steps in the right direction, because it's hard. And it's hard in this world to not just give up and want to be like, all right, we can end it here and I'll just go back to the same lifestyle. So I want to commend you on that, because you're doing great things and you're moving in the right direction. So good job. What do you do to advocate best for yourself?
Well, what do I do that? I go to my groups faithfully, and I contact my PO like clockwork, like every day almost, just because I don't want to end up locked up or something.
Yeah.
And if there's something like I really want, like currently I want to really work and find a job, and everybody's trying to stonewall me.
Yeah.
So I keep pushing until I get what I want.
So would you say that you are more of a talker or more of a doer, or what do you do?
I'm a little bit of both.
Both, okay.
If somebody stonewalls me, I'll go do it myself. I'd rather get things done myself than depend on the next person to do it for me, because at the end of the day, you can't really depend on nobody but yourself.
Yes.
People can tell me till they're blue in the face that they got me, or they're going to help me, or they're going to support me, but at the end of the day, if I don't support or believe in myself, I'm not going to get nowhere.
That's so true. That is so true. You hit that, boom, nail on the head. So what would you say, what is your meditation practices?
Music, reading. Like yesterday, I like just got lost in a book. Like I like hood books like Nikki Turner and Sister Soldier, because it's different. You get to escape into a different world, and then singing, because it's just a stress relief. Like especially when I sing like Tamala Manning or Mary Mary, it just feels different than singing Beyonce or Keisha Cole or somebody of that nature.
Right.
It's different. It's like a different feeling when you sing.
Even though Keisha Cole's is my favorite, so I don't know. Keisha be having it popping, y'all. So I don't know. But yeah. So meditation is music, and do you do anything? Well, singing. Do you do anything else?
I like to draw and color. Well, I'm not really good at coloring, but I will attempt to color.
Yeah.
Now, I'm 24, but I still color outside the lines. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Well,
I do not know how to color.
Are you trying to work for perfection, or
No,
you're just trying to color?
just trying to color.
Okay. So anything else do you do?
Arts, like it's just any arts and crafts really, or just stay to myself. Sleep's always the best cure to everything. Just saying.
As long as you don't stay there too long. Sleep is okay, but sometimes we can get into those practices, and then it comes a practice that stays a little bit too long, and then you're getting in the habit of just laying there, and we don't want you to get into that habit.
I don't want to be lazy.
Exactly, or get depressed. Yeah, because that's where it can start, is in that bed. So get up out of that bed.
And I ain't want to get up this morning.
Open up them curtains. Burn some of that sage. Get it popping, yo. Do whatever you got to do to relieve that so that it doesn't press on you. Tell me about how you and I met.
Well, I met you at the workhouse, Ramsey County Workhouse, when I was serving the 210 days that I was sentenced to execute for my charge. You were doing parenting classes with another client, and she was like, you need to talk to Sierra. I was like, who is Sierra? And then here you come in, and everybody's like running to you. I was like, oh, that's Sierra. So that's how we met.
Okay, cool.
You were like the hot commodity.
Yeah, I mean, when you are somebody who makes stuff happen or helps people advocate or can relate to you, and who people feel like are real and don't feel like
it's faking or
fake,
sugarcoating or just there just because they're getting a paycheck. Like, out of everybody there, you were one of the only ones really that weren't there just for that paycheck.
Right.
You actually wanted to help us and rehabilitate us and get us back into society.
Right. ReEntry. Yeah.
ReEntry Matters.
ReEntry Matters. Woo, woo. So, how do people receive your story when you talk about your criminal history or your child protection history? And when I say how do people receive your story, I mean like employers, landlords, county officials, family members, and friends. I want you to talk about all of those people. However, what
employers, when they see that I'm a felon, they turn me away. They just look at the felony charge. They don't look at who I am as a person. I don't bring up my child growing up in child protection to many people. My family knows because they're my family, obviously, and then you know because I talk to you. But I really don't too much talk about it. It's just a part of my life that I try to keep buried until today. Officials, well, within my case, my attorney looked at my child protection service case as a way to use as a crutch to get me a downward departure, which, you know, there's benefits and downfalls to that.
Right.
But, friends and family, I feel like some friends that I do open up to about my struggle growing up in CPS, they try to do pity me or try to put pity on me, and that's not what I want.
Right.
My story isn't about, oh, poor pity me, because I've always lived, if everybody's dealt a hand. It's not what you're dealt, it's how you know, what you do with it.
You deal with it, right.
And, yeah.
How about people that you encounter in halfway houses or transitional houses or treatment facilities? How do they perceive your stories? Like psychiatrists, do you talk to them?
I try to stay out of therapy as much as possible. A lot of psychiatrists and therapists want me to go back to that moment when I was 4 and I was molested and I was first taken away from my mom, and I try not to go to that moment because that's a hard spot for me. Right. I've learned to bury things and just leave them there and move on. or they try to diagnose me with like a bunch of diagnoses, but they only see who I was at that time or what I was going through at the time, not what I'm going through currently.
Right. So when you do deal with those people and they ask you those questions and they try to get you to disclose that information and you do disclose it, how do they perceive your story? Do they take it as, wow, I'm sorry that you experienced that? Or do they take it as like, okay, this is a situation and, you know, that was the past and this is the current situation. So that's then and this is now.
No, I would like them to take it as that's the past, this is now. But most of them be like, oh, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And I'd be like, well, it's life. Life happens. You know, you're not in control of what family you're born into.
Right.
Now, I love my family, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of shady people within my family.
Right.
And it's more so I see, not even just in my family, but in most black families,
Yes.
is if what's done in this house stays in this house, you don't
Yes.
speak on it.
Yes.
Because there's still, to this day, there's people that blame me for us being taken away. I look at it as people use it as a crutch to manipulate me. They know that I long for that relationship and that bond with my family.
Yeah.
So they use it to manipulate me like certain people.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I want you to know that you have a big story. So I want you to tell me about your story with the criminal justice system and the child protection system and what you want others to know. Yes.
Well, child protection, I grew up in CPS. I was first put in CPS at 4. I was molested by one of my uncles and was taken away from my mom's care. Within the system, I sent from 4 to like 7, right when my mom lost her rights. I had been molested by foster brothers. Bounced from foster home to foster home because I was angry. I didn't understand why I couldn't be with my mom. I didn't understand why you were taking me away. I felt like I was being consequenced for being honest, for saying that somebody was touching me. I didn't understand. Nobody took the time to explain to me what was happening. It's like they just uprooted me and moved me, and here's your new family, and you got to do it this way.
Right.
They didn't take the time to tell me, well, your mom can't take care of you right now. So for the longest, I held anger and hatred towards my mom. And so when I finally did come home, I didn't respect her as a person. I didn't respect her as a human being. All I seen was, you abandoned me. You're supposed to be my mom.
Right.
A mother is always supposed to protect her child by any means necessary. I still don't understand how you know who hurt your children and they're still walking this earth. And I feel like that was part of the reason I grew up so angry. At 7, I had one last phone call with my mom at my foster home. And I got so angry afterwards, I pulled out a butcher knife on my foster mom and ran away. And then I was kicked out of all foster care. And I was put into a placement, Bush Wilder in St. Paul. At 8, I was supposed to be adopted, and they, at like 9.5, she withdrew her adoption because I had a panic/anxiety attack, and I wasn't there mentally. I was there physically, but I wasn't there mentally, and she didn't know how to deal with my behavioral problems that were recurring. So then I went to St. Joseph's Home for Children for 3.5 years, where I constantly got in fights with people. I became an angry, bitter person. Like, if I seen you were doing good or you got to go home to your family, I would mess it up for you. Just because I couldn't go home to my family. Just because I couldn't be with my mom. So I would mess it up for you. If I knew you were finna get discharged and all you had to do was maintain good behavior, I would purposely pick a fight with you just so you couldn't go home. Then I got kicked out. And I went to Arizona for treatment at Mingus Mountain Academy, and there I caught more charge. Well, that's when really my criminal really started. I got kicked out 2 months after being there. I had my first hospitalization for mental health at 12. They just continued to put me on more meds. I was already taking medication.
Yeah.
But it went from maybe 5 pills a day to now I'm taking 10 to 15 a day. So I was just drugged. I went to Eau Claire Academy, and I was a bully. I picked on any and everybody. If you were the biggest, baddest person in there, I went after you just to prove I'm crazy. Don't mess with me. And they ended up, the system, their thing for children that have anger problems is medication. Put them on medication and they'll calm down, or they won't be able to act out. But what they fail to realize, when you're putting us on medication before our brain or we're fully developed, you're slowing us down.
Talk about it.
Because now I have problems with, like, what's the word? Processing things. Because for so long I've been on
Delayed
medications. So I don't really trust the system, I guess you could say. I was first put on, first had my real first charge at 15. I had this girl at my group home, Rachel. We were also at Eau Claire together. I fought her daily. It didn't matter where we were at. We went to the same school. I would post up in the hallway and pick on her just till I told the whole school she was I was just evil. I was an evil person, and I didn't care who I hurted because I was hurting inside. At 17, I was charged as a legal adult in Wisconsin because I attacked a staff at a treatment center and was sent back to Minnesota just because I was in CPS. CPS got me out of the charge technically in Wisconsin. The judge who I have now, George Barcher, she was the judge who was residing in my case then, and she basically gave me one last chance to get my shit together. Sent me to Indiana and said if I catch any charges in Indiana, I go to Shakopee, and I'm going to be in Shakopee in adult prison, which is a lot different than juvie.
Right. Way different.
So I went to Indiana and I got my shit semi together, but my grandmother died in 2013, and it was right before I was supposed to be discharged. I got discharged that August. I remember the phone call. I was just getting in contact with my mom again, and I called her. She said, your grandma died, and she just broke down. And I didn't register it at the time because my main focus was, I just got my mom back. Let me help her through this.
Right.
And a month and a half later, I blacked out and knocked the staff unconscious and almost killed him in Indiana. Was trying to charge me with attempted murder at 18. And it kind of like scared me and hurt me at the same time because my grandmother was my rock through everything. When I couldn't speak to my mom or when I couldn't see nobody, she was there. She was the one person in my family I was allowed to contact and still see.
Right.
I still held a little bit of anger towards her because she took my brother in and didn't take me in, and I didn't understand why she couldn't take us both in. We're related, we're siblings.
Right.
But then I later found out my brother had molested me growing up also, and so I understood a little bit more. I came back to Minnesota in 2013, and I was doing okay. Then things kind of went south. I became a force to be reckoned with, let's put it that way.
A force to be working with?
Yeah.
Okay.
I, within like a month of me being home, I had beat the crap out of somebody on the train. And then I've just got just messing up. I had got an apartment on rent through a housing program, and I turned it to the trap spot. I don't know why, but I did. I used to prank my mom with your daughter's dead. She just died. Somebody just killed her. And I had my friend on the phone calling her, and I sit there just laugh. Just laugh. Because I was like, you hurt me all these years. I want you to hurt like I hurt. And I'll sit there and listen to her cry, and I just laugh. And in 2014, I found out I was pregnant it was in February, early February. I found out I was pregnant current boyfriend's baby. And I told him, but then I found out he had already had a baby mama pregnant. I had another girlfriend and all this extra. I lost my baby. I had emergency D&C on March 18th, 2014. And that's when my drug use kicked in. It's when I started prostituting myself to numb and to help me heal the void that was in my heart. I didn't understand how, for one, he was never there, but you accused me of aborting your child. And then for two, how does a heart just stop out of nowhere? If it was just strong 2 days ago, how is their heart just done?
Right.
And I didn't understand because I did everything I was supposed to do. When you find out you're pregnant, stop smoking, stop drinking, take your prenatals. I did everything. Made it to my doctor's appointments faithfully. And I couldn't comprehend why me. Like, so I hit another depressed phase where I tried to kill myself. I've tried to overdose off of my meds and succeeded and was resuscitated at Regions and put on suicide watch. I didn't catch any more charges. I'm kind of skipping some stuff.
It's all right. It's all right.
I didn't catch any more charges until I was 22, 21, I believe, which was January 20th of 2017. I was in my apartment over on Wayzata, and I blacked out. I was doing every drug you could possibly think of besides heroin and crack. I was in a whole nother universe, and it had become, since I lost my baby, it had become normal for me to just, I'll hit a trick, and for those of you that don't know what tricking is, it's selling yourself. It's prostitution.
Right.
But I would hit a trick, and as soon as I get the money, I go get me some meth, or I'll go get me some coke, or I'll go get me some liquor. And at that point, I had been drinking big bottles of Hennessy, like 2 or 3 of them a day, doing grams of cocaine and meth, and just
Not caring.
not caring what happened to me.
Right.
The day I blacked out, I ended up stabbing somebody, and my life changed for the worse that day. Not only did I lose my apartment, I lost who I was completely. I lost everything. I couldn't depend on this so-called family I thought I had here. I tried to go stay with my auntie. She robbed me and kicked me out because her dude told her to. I tried to go stay with friends. I couldn't do that. Everybody I had helped throughout the years would not help me. They just left me. So I went to sleep on the streets as I was fighting this case with
Your criminal case.
my criminal case. When I first was arrested, I was questioned without an attorney. I was refused an attorney. I asked to call an attorney. They would not let me. I was not allowed to shower until the day I was released. So I sat in not a holding cell, but a cell in Seg in Ramsey County for 3 days. No shower, no clothes, no nothing. Just a pickle suit.
Ramsey County Jail.
Jail, yeah, Ramsey County Jail for 3 days, without showering, without anything, till the day I was released. I was released, and I kept going back I made my court appointments. They kept continuing me. I eventually pled guilty to the lesser charge, which was second-degree assault with a deadly weapon. In 2017, November, I fled because I was attacked by my victim's brother downtown, and I went to St. Paul Police Department and asked them for help, and I told them I filed the police report, and they did not want to help me. In so many words, they told me that's what I get for stabbing somebody's sister. And I didn't understand, because in my eyes, the police are supposed to be there to serve and protect you. They're not just supposed to be there just to be there. Like, I had it on camera. You seen I didn't attack him back. You seen I just took the hits. But you don't want to help me because I stabbed his sister. That doesn't make no sense. I feel like they pick and choose what cases they take, and they pick and choose who they prosecute. So I left. I left Minnesota for a year and a half. I moved to Tennessee. Tennessee was the worstest, bestest experience I've ever tried. I say that because it opened my eyes to a lot about life. I was no longer blinded by family or friends, that so-called friends, or drama that was happening here.
Right.
I was strictly on my own. When Tennessee, I was down there with my ex-best friend Jessica, and we ended up falling off over the dude that I was with, Tavares. And she owed me $60 because I gave her like my last 60. I was just moving into a place, and I needed some drugs, and I ran up in her house and beat the fuck out of her in her house and made her give me my $60. And she's like, I'm gonna call the police. I was like, well, then call them, because by the time they get here, I'm gonna be gone. So I don't talk to her no more.
So she called the police showed up, and then that's when you
I
got arrested?
No, I got arrested. This was the beginning of my stay in Tennessee.
Okay.
January 2018, it was like the end of January, early February 2018, the dude I was with, Tavares, had beat the living out of me. Literally, he broke my jaw in 2 different spots. I was bruised so badly from head to toe, they thought I had internal bleeding. I couldn't do nothing. Like,
right.
I was still talking with, like, I walked around for a good 2 weeks in Tennessee with a broken jaw because nobody would touch my jaw in Jackson, Tennessee. No doctor would touch my jaw without at least a $1,500 down payment. Who the hell has that type of money just laying around?
Right.
I ended up leaving him after the last beating that happened. My jaw was still broken. He dragged me out of my room butt naked, or our room that we shared, and was finna throw me outside butt naked, no clothes, no nothing, and dumped me in the doorway. And I left the next morning, and I went to a domestic shelter through the RAP program, and everything was good for about a month. I got a place through them, and I was doing really good. The problem was the place was right down the street from my old place. And I ran into Tavares again, and it just, like, it restarted all over again. It didn't necessarily go to hitting. It went to controlling. I didn't have control over my money. I didn't have control over who I could hang out with. I didn't have control over nothing. My house turned into his house. My money turned into his money. But at the same time, we faked this lifestyle to everybody else that we were good. And every time something went bad or somebody else found out something was bad, it was put on me. And a lot of people don't understand domestic abuse isn't physical.
Right. It can
be mental, emotionally,
and
verbal, physical. A man can tear a woman down in so many different ways.
And vice versa. Women
versa. Yeah, women do it too. I don't, but women do it too.
But yeah.
It got to the point to where I didn't talk to my friends in Minnesota. I stopped communicating with my mother. I stopped communicating with everybody up here. So all I had was him and his family.
So did your family know that he was
my
abusive
family knew I was
to you?
being abusive. I posted the pictures.
Your friends as well?
Yeah. Okay. Nobody came down to help me. Nobody had the money to, I guess is what they say.
Did you go to the police?
I'm scared.
Or you didn't trust them because you had a warrant?
I had a warrant. I did not trust the police.
You had the warrant.
And I was scared this.
Right.
So this whole time I had a warrant out for my arrest up here.
Right.
And October of 2018, we had gotten to our final and last domestic dispute over this female named Haven, who he was cheating on me with, and I felt like that's bogus. Like, I'm housing you, I make sure bills are paid, I'm selling myself so we can get by, so we can keep lights on, and you're out here messing with this female. So I confronted him October 30th, 2018, and we ended up fighting. He ended up getting angry, shit broke the table, everything. Police ended up getting called, long story short, they ran my name. I took the rap for the domestic stuff in the house. I was like, yeah, I did that because I didn't want him to go to jail. They ran my name and found out I had a warrant up here. I was then sent to Jackson Police Jail. And I sat there from October 30th to November 10th. And then November 10th, Minnesota sent the inmate transit people, or whatever you want to call them, to come get me. And I got up here November 14th. When I got up here, Ramsey County is a character in itself. Because, for one, I asked them for help with my mental, because I had been off of meds for so long, and I needed stability. They didn't help me. They made fun of me when I heard voices. They would put me in SEG in the speaker button in your room. They would go over it and purposely play music just to piss me off, or laugh at me and talk about me hearing voices. And I'd be like, just stop the voices, just silence the voices. For a good 2 months out of my stay at Ramsey, I spent in SEG because of my mental health. I was eventually put in a green shirt, which is, special needs. But by then I was about to get sentenced.
Right.
My original sentencing day was November 30th. They postponed it. Well, it originally was supposed to be that Friday I got in, which was, I think, the 15th or 16th. But then they moved it to the 30th. Then they moved it to December 21st. And then they moved it to January 25th. The last 2 dates, my victim showed up to court, which was a surprise to me because, I'm back to St. Paul.
Well, they probably let her know.
Yeah, they told me.
Yeah.
And why didn't you show up when this case first started? Like, why are you just now showing your face?
Right.
So I dealt with that. January 25th, I was sentenced and convicted of a felony. I think that's what it's aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. I was sentenced to 210 days at the workhouse, Ramsey County Workhouse. Out of that 210, I only had to do 61. And I was sentenced to 7 years of probation and then 25 months in Shakopee, which was stayed for my probation sentence.
Right.
And they considered it a downward departure. Conditions is I had to get mental help, my mental stability. I had to take all medications prescribed and follow all medical recommendations. Since being out of the workhouse, I have been getting the run around. Like, you know better than anybody, because I call you every time. Like, they're bullshitting me, help. Yeah, I've been getting the runaround. I was released from the workhouse, and I was supposed to go directly to Mercy Hospital for treatment, for chemical dependency treatment, but they denied me at the last minute. That was when I was released, and they tried to get me to go to Tapestry the same day, but I had already relapsed and was smoking.
Relapsed
on marijuana. I have not touched cocaine or meth. I haven't touched cocaine since October, and I haven't touched meth in about 2 years, I believe, or a year, one of the two.
Good job.
Yes. So now I'm only struggling with the weed.
But you are now in recovery for that as well.
I'm in recovery for that. That's why I go to group 4. So I went to Tapestry. I got clean, sober. Was doing really, really good. Halfway through, I had a mental breakdown to where I was hallucinating. I was hearing voices. They said it was like a psychotic break from using meth for so long and cocaine for so long. It was after effects of it. I thought I was really channeling Satan. Like, I was freaking the hell out. I was in a room, like, kill everybody, die. Everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. And then I broke down with a staff named Amanda. And she sat there and she prayed for me. She was the first staff at Tapestry, or one of the first, who actually seen me for me, not for what I was going through.
Right.
And she was like, we can take you to Regent if you want. You will not be kicked out, because it's part of my conditions to finish treatment. I went to Regents, and Tapestry kicked me out.
Yes, they did.
Talking about a higher level of care. And my PO at the time, Teresa Johnson, tried to violate me. And I called Sierra because I didn't do nothing to get violated.
Right.
But asked for help. I think I sat in the hospital for like a week.
Yeah.
A week and a half,
and a half, maybe, yeah.
Before Tapestry allowed me back. And it took a lot of phone calls, a lot of Sierra calling my PO and like, why are you trying to violate her?
Right.
So yeah, thank you
Calling
for getting me back.
Tapestry
Yeah.
and talking to Tapestry and saying, why are you violating her? She was just asking for help.
Yeah. So I eventually graduated Tapestry on June 4th with the help of Sierra.
Hey.
And then I went to my mom's house where it was good, but it felt weird because I hadn't lived with my mom at all. So, and the years that I did live with her, I didn't remember. So it was weird at first. So it was like I felt like I kind of had to like walk on eggshells a little bit. And I'm sorry, Mom, if you feel some type of way. But I was told to be honest. I felt like I had to walk on eggshells a little bit. I felt like if I didn't have something to give, then I would be kicked out. And in my mind, I thought like that because I had stayed with other people that were my family. And once I gave them the money, I was kicked out. And so with my mom, to Sierra's great advice, go in the house and give her $200.
Yes.
I was like, okay. She's like, this way, you paid her something. Even though she said she don't want your money, this way you still paid her something. I was like, okay. And I paid her $200. Then, I stayed there or whatever, and I started, I don't know if I should admit this on my lash.
You don't have to. Whatever you don't want to say.
I don't care. You told me to be honest.
Yes.
I started tricking again, in a form of a sense, I guess you can say. I had this regular who I used to mess with. We call him White Boy, because he's short and he's a white boy. Who I used to see before I left, and I started tricking with him again, off and on, for marijuana, for my mom to be able to smoke and for me to be able to smoke. Because by then I had developed my habit all over again, to where I needed my weed to get through the day. I needed to smoke to function with other humans. All the goals I had set in treatment went out the window. Everything about school and this and that went out the window. Job, I postponed that until like last month. Then I started looking. With one thing about Minnesota is if you're a felon, it's 10 times harder to find housing. And I figured that out the hard way. There aren't many slumlords like in Tennessee.
Slumlords.
I call them slumlords.
And though you shouldn't even have to want to desire to go to a slumlord. You shouldn't have to live like that, but that's reality because those are the only people who are willing to rent to felons.
I feel like Minnesota should be a felony-friendly state just because so many of us are felons here. Like, you complain about people being homeless.
Well, people of color, right?
Yeah. You get what I meant.
Yes. No, I just had to clear it up because we want to make sure that everybody knows what you mean, and we don't want to get the wrong impression.
So currently, I am at a halfway house that I was my PO had me go to because I could not stop using marijuana. My mom thinks that they blame her for it, but in reality, I've taken accountability for my use of marijuana.
Right.
I don't post any blame on her for it. At first, when I heard about the halfway house, I was like, fuck this shit, I'd rather be homeless.
You did say that.
Like, I'm not finna go to no halfway house. Like, it's gonna be like jail.
Right. Because in the halfway house, you can't have your phone.
I can't have my phone. I can't come and go as I please. I have to call every time I leave a place, every time I make it to a place. I have to sign out. But then I sat down, and after talking to you, Again. I thought about it. I was like, is prison or a halfway house?
Right.
Like, would I rather be sitting behind bars again? Because I like my freedom. Don't get me wrong.
Real.
I cringe just watching Law and Order when them doors close. I'd be like, oh, the sound of them doors.
For real.
So it's just, yeah. So now I'm at the halfway house. I've only been there for like 2 days, I think.
Yes.
And I like it.
That's what I was going to ask you next. Where are you at in your life right now? Where are things for you?
Right now, things are better than what they were a month ago. I'm currently at a halfway house, RS Eden, where, like I said, I can't do that I want to do. But then they're going to tell me you could get a flip phone delivered here. Who uses flip phones?
Probably nobody anymore.
So, and I'm currently awaiting to get into a Vivo treatment center, which is an outpatient with lodging. They give me an apartment, and I can continue my recovery there. And then up to a year after I complete outpatient, I can still stay there. I currently go to outpatient at New Beginnings on University, which
Excuse me.
is a struggle.
Why is that a struggle?
It's a struggle because I know I'm not going to be there long. So, like, when it comes to the assignments and things,
You don't
like,
take 'em serious.
I don't take them serious. Because why would I open up to a whole new group of females when I'm not going to be there?
Right.
Like,
so you're apprehensive about it because you have told your story to so many people, and having to go recreate another connection with another person, it begins to be too much.
Yeah.
Right.
Thankfully, my PO came back from medical leave.
Yeah.
So I have him back, and he understands. So currently, halfway house treatment, recovery, and I am currently going for my master's in criminal justice, specifically pre-law.
Yes.
Here, specifically. That's what I want to get to.
Yeah.
But so that's current, and then I got an interview tomorrow for my second interview at Home Depot.
So we're gonna pray on that one. That God makes sure that you get that job if that's the one He sees fit for you. Do you feel you have the support that you need from the community, your friends, and your family right now in this current?
Yes and no. I feel like a lot of people say they're there for me, but they're really not. A lot of people are just there to see me down, see my downfall eventually, and that's what I use as support, I guess you can say, to keep pushing. A lot of people in my family, and as much as it hurts, has secret ulterior motives, and they don't care that I'm on my life. They're gonna be mad at me, but they'll get over it.
Yes. The truth hurts sometimes.
Yeah. I just feel like a lot of things, if I would have never caught my charge, my life would be different. I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I wouldn't be facing prison time, obviously. But I definitely would not be in Minnesota. But I also look at it as a blessing in disguise. It brought me and my mom closer. Me getting caught and going to jail brought us a lot closer than what we were when I first got out. Because I'm not saying our relationship is just shit. Like,
Right.
we've gotten better.
Right.
Obviously, I lived with her.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So it's gotten a lot better. I go to my mom a lot more than I did before. I don't prank call her and tell her I'm dead.
Thank God.
No more.
Ooh, I'm sure your mom just
She went ape shit.
probably wanted to go crazy on you
She
for
did.
that. Yeah.
She did. She definitely did. I'm only 48 hours off of marijuana, which is hard. 48 hours in my life. It is one of the hardest 48 hours in my life. Because I'm living in a halfway house with nothing but females, and then I gotta go to a group with nothing but females.
Right. It's a lot of females.
I don't like females.
It's a lot of females.
Yeah. That's where I'm at
So,
currently.
what is your motivation and intentions for this project of Everybody Has a Story?
My motivation for Everybody Has a Story is there's somebody out there that's struggling with similar things that I've went through, and I know that it's okay to speak up. It's okay to let people know that you're being hurt. Yeah, your family's going to be mad at you because what's done in this house stays in this house.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if it's hurting you or if it's affecting you in some type of way, speak about it.
Yes.
Nowadays, you see all these children that were being molested that come up missing and dead and everything because they were too scared to go to their mom and tell them, or their mom didn't believe them.
Yes.
If your child comes to you and says something of that nature, believe them, because at the end of the day, your child's not going to lie about that.
Yes.
Like, for me, there's a lot that my mom don't know,
Yes.
and I'm going to take that to the grave with me. but I feel like there's a lot of people. My main motivation is my sister, Naisha, my god sister. Her and my nephew and my niece that's on the way is my main motivation. She had cut me out of their lives when I was in Tennessee, and that hurt like hell. So I use her as a way to like do what I gotta do to get what I want, because I want to be a part of my nephew's life. I want to be able to see him grow into a young man. I want to see my niece. I want to be there at her birth. I want to do all that. I can't do that behind bars or on drugs
at all.
Because she already told me.
Right. Ain't gonna happen. Study.
Yeah.
What does acceptance and equality mean to you?
Acceptance it depends on what you're referring to as acceptance. Acceptance from other people, I really don't care for. But acceptance as in yourself, accepting who you are, what you were dealt, and where you're going or where you're at now is what acceptance means to me. Like, being okay with who you are as a person.
Yes.
I had just learned to accept myself in jail, actually. I learned to love me some me.
Hey.
So now people be like, "Oh, you big." I'd be like, sure am, but my man like it. What you gonna do?
Right, big and beautiful, BB.
I've learned, just loving yourself a lot more. What was the other question?
Equality.
Equality. Treating everybody the same. Like, it don't matter what gender you are, what you...
Sex, religion, race.
Yeah. Like, you're a human just like I'm a human.
Yes.
You bleed. At the end of the day, if you get cut, you bleed red just like I bleed red.
Right.
We bleed the same color. So I don't feel like color or race or all that should really matter. But in this world, it's a fucked up world.
Right. Talk about it. And what is success to you?
Success to me would be when I'm able to sit comfortably in a house that I own and look at the door as people knock on it and be like, I ain't home. Leave me alone.
You didn't call before you came over.
You didn't. Look, there's no call, no show. That's success to me, in all honesty. And being financially stable, like, I don't judge nobody who have kids before they're ready. But, like, a lot of people like, Jessica, when you're going to get pregnant again? When you're going to have kids? When I'm financially stable, I can't even keep finances in my own bank account, let alone for a baby.
Right. Right.
And I think with that, my biggest problem is I see so many of my friends I grew up with that got kids that either lost them to the system or trying to get them back or just completely don't take care of their kids.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be another statistic. Most people that grow up in the system, their kids end up in the system.
Right.
And that's because the system makes you believe that if you're a ward of the state, this is what they told me, as soon as you have a kid, you are assigned a CPS worker. Yeah. This one I'm pushing on my babies.
Because you need some clarity.
Yeah. So, and I feel like that's what messes up a lot of people. So I'm glad we went to that CPS thing.
Yes, that was really great. That CPS coverage that we did. Who works with the Black coalitions here in child protection, and so that event that we went to was very informative, and we got some great information. And I hope to stay in contact with her, and I hope that you would like to stay in contact, because there's going to be further things that we want you to be present at, to be able to speak out about these things, about child protection, of course, and most definitely about the criminal stuff as well. But we have come to the end of our show, and I really, really thank you for everything that you shared with me today. Lips went dry, but you're still popping, yo.
Cardi
So if you have an interest in getting in contact with us to talk more with Jessica, or you want to know more about her and her journey on to success with her criminal justice, with her success with her sobriety, you can contact me through Sierra's Sparkle Shop at gmail.com, which is SIERRASSPARKLESHOP@gmail.com.
Oh, so it's mouthful.
That is a mouthful. We appreciate everybody for tuning in today. We got live popping, yo. And I really appreciate you sharing your story. I know that somebody's going to hear it, and they're going to relate to it, and they're going to also see that you are successfully trying to move towards a better fate in life and a reality of being a sober woman. And I want you to know that I'm always here to support you. I know you know.
I try to tell you, I was like, I don't like calling you when I got problems because you be telling me.
Right. Because it's about life and sharing life with one another. And I feel like no matter the circumstance or the situation, you have now been placed in my care by the Creator, God, for a reason. And it is surely a blessing to see your success, regardless if you do make mistakes and you do go back to using marijuana. I don't believe in if your probation officer tells you, yeah, you're supposed to abstain it, so I don't abstain from it. I don't believe in you indulging in it, especially if it's not medically prescribed to you. So, I talk to you about that all the time. It's like, if that's what helps your mental health, if that's the things that you feel are necessary for you and the things that you need to do to calm yourself or be at peace, then you need to go to doctor. They've been prescribing you medication all thus far. Well, if that's the medication that helps you to process and deal, then get it prescribed, and then you won't be misusing. But again, we appreciate everybody for tuning in with us today. You can get in touch with us, and next time, tune in with us again. Next week, we'll be having some more shows. And if you're interested, you can always email us too to talk about coming on and being a part of the show. So thanks for tuning in. We love you guys.